So we had pretty historic scenes a couple of days ago in Israel first, in Jerusalem, where Donald Trump landed, addressed the Israeli parliament. We had the historic scenes of the 20 remaining alive hostages being returned to their families, to the embrace of their families. They've been through hell and back in these last 2 years. And then we had the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. So the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, will it hold? We're already seeing some fraying at the edges, some killings that have already happened, some tank shelling that's going on in northern Gaza. Will it hold? What are the conditions for it to hold? What about India's role? Prime Minister Modi was one of the first to welcome this ceasefire, also congratulated Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump, spoke to both of them in the aftermath of the ceasefire deal being agreed. We're joined by a very special guest here in our studios. Ambassador Reuven Azar is the ambassador of Israel to India. Thank you very much for joining us here on News 18. First of all, congratulations. It is a big, momentous occasion. We saw those pictures from a couple of days ago. The whole world was watching, President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the address to the Knesset, and of course, who can forget the hostages coming back to their families. How do you feel?
Well, it's a moment of joy. It seems like for many Israelis, I think for all Israelis, it's like a huge rock, that was taken out of our heart. To see the scenes of the living hostages coming back, the families that have suffered for so long, and the sense of responsibility we had to see each and every one of them back home. That gives a lot of relief, but it's not done. We are waiting for the murdered hostages to come back. Hamas, they committed to do it in 72 hours. They didn't do it. We want to give this ceasefire a chance, Zakka. We want to give peace a chance. I think this is a rare moment that we are having in our region in which there is international consensus on a path forward that is very, very clear. It's not yet, detailed because the second stage is not there, it's not designed yet, but there are principles, and these principles are very important. We need to have Hamas renouncing power. We need to have a responsible government coming. We need to have an international role of not just assisting, but also supervising. We are looking forward for that to happen so we can go back to our lives. We have no interest of staying in the Gaza Strip. But right now, what we're seeing, as you said, there are some hiccups here. Yeah. We've seen atrocious murders of Palestinians by Hamas. Yeah. It's very difficult to look at that, how they are murdering their own people. There have been some attempts to penetrate areas which Israel is still in control, but largely speaking, the ceasefire is holding. And we have great hope that with international pressure on Hamas, especially pressure from the Arab countries and Muslim nations, that Hamas actually will keep its word and actually give back our murdered hostages and implement the 20-point plan.
But the accusation is also on the Israeli side, saying that Israel is indulged in some tank fire and some shelling, and some 9 people have been killed in northern Gaza. Also, going back on the commitments for humanitarian aid, I think you've reduced the number of trucks that can be allowed into Gaza. So how do you respond to that?
It's a matter of keeping commitments. Mm-hmm. When the conditions of the ceasefire are breached, we are going to respond. So we have been very clear where the line goes, and those who have been able to penetrate, we've been trying in different means to keep them out. When they continue doing that and our forces feel threatened, they had to return fire. We hope that these incidents can be prevented. We are not interested in breaching the ceasefire. The same goes to the commitment on the humanitarian assistance. The Hamas organization has to release the murdered hostages. If they don't, we won't be able to implement our side. So we've been now limiting the number of lorries. We have said that Rafah crossing point won't be open until the commitments are met. They were supposed to release all of them within 72 hours. They didn't do it.
So out of the 28, how many have been returned?
Well, we still have 21 that haven't returned. So they released 4. They then released another batch of 4. Out of them, only 3 were hostages. So we are still waiting for that to continue, and we hope it continues.
But the second phase is the more difficult one, and Hamas has already walked back on, the commitment to give up arms or the commitment to not have any role in a future Gaza. So what makes you hopeful that this ceasefire will stick?
Well, it's not a surprise. Hamas has been playing these tricks time and again. It's a matter of showing resolve, not only by us, but also by all the partners that were part of this deal. And I'm talking about the Arab countries, the mediators. They have ways of putting pressure on Hamas. And if they successfully do that, we can see a path forward. The alternative is very bad. We don't want to go back to the alternative. We've been there for the last 2 years.
But it's also true that Israel itself has been, at least majority public in Israel, and I was there a few months ago, they're tired of this war. They are exhausted of this war, and they wanted this war to end and for the hostages to be brought back home. So, going back to the war doesn't seem like an option, at least from a public point of view.
Look, it's not an option unless we have a situation in which there is a danger that Hamas will rearm and regroup and do the 7th of October again. We don't want that to happen. So although we are tired and although people want to go back to normalcy, Israel won't compromise on its security. And that's very clear. And we have said that, and even the American president said that only a few hours ago.
Yeah. We'll disarm Hamas if it came down to that. I also want to ask you about India. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. The last time we spoke, you said you want India to be involved in the rehabilitation and the reconstruction of Gaza. Is there anything more that you can give us in terms of what role you would want India to play there? Is there any specific areas or sectors you're talking about?
No, at this point, I think I detailed the last time that we are talking here about an increasing role of India because of its growing interest in the Middle East, because of its engagement, both in terms of infrastructure, companies coming to our region, coming to Israel, workforce. There are different aspects that we can contemplate. This is going to be discussed between the leaders. They had a telephone conversation between them. We're going to have more engagements in the highest level, hopefully in the coming weeks. And then we'll see.
Is Prime Minister Netanyahu due for an India visit? He is due for an India visit. Is there anything being talked about?
Well, nothing specific at this point. We hope to get news about this soon.
You hope to get news about this soon. We hope to get news about it as well. But as I come to the concluding sort of part of our interview, this has been an extremely difficult 2 years for ordinary Israelis, as indeed it has been for ordinary Palestinians. What lessons have been learned from this? You don't want to go. This is the longest war that Israel has had with Hamas, or frankly, in the history of Israel, I believe this is the longest war you've had. What have you learned?
Well, we learned, first of all, that we have to be more vigilant. We learned that there are certain kinds of threats that we cannot live with, and that we had to take care of before they actually explode in our faces. We have to do a more comprehensive effort, together with partners in the region, to try to not only contain the forces of evil and the terrorists, but also do more diplomatically to create solutions for prosperity and stability in the region. To have both security cooperation, economic cooperation, political cooperation, and this is the only way to overcome the radical Islamists, the jihadists. We've been doing a lot in these 2 years to debilitate and put Iran in the corner, to debilitate the proxies of Iran. This gives a lot of room for a huge opening for cooperation. We want to expand the Abraham Accords.
Who do you see potentially next? I was reading something about Indonesia willing to, or at least saying that they are open to.
There are many countries. We won't go into details before this comes to fruition. I think that there are many countries that actually see eye to eye. You could see it very clearly manifesting in the 20 points of the plan. Nobody wants to see Hamas staying in power. Nobody wants to give these terrorists the lead when it comes to the region. So we can do more, and if we do more, I think that the terrorists will have much lesser a chance of disrupting the lives of people in our region, including that of the Palestinians.
All right, Ambassador Azar, as always, a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNN News 18.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break here on the program, but news and updates continue right on the other side in just a moment.